Today in the Daily Dose, the Chinese Exclusion Act. Following the Opium Wars against Great Britain, China's crushing war debt, combined with a protracted stretch of floods and droughts that left many Chinese peasants seeking new opportunities abroad. Many Chinese found their way into California after James Wilson Marshall's 1848 discovery of gold at Sutter's mill. Combined with another devastating crop failure in China, some 20,000 Chinese immigrants passed through San Francisco's Customs House in 1852, up from 2,716 the previous year, igniting a racially charged spree of violence by whites who saw the Chinese as a threat to their ongoing ability to earn a living wage. Later that same year, in an effort to curb the violence and allay the fears of white miners, California imposed a foreign miners tax of $3 a month, despite the fact that Chinese laborers worked for less money and longer hours than whites, often given the most dangerous and backbreaking jobs in a given mining operation. To worsen the plight of Chinese immigrants, the 1854 Supreme Court case of People v. Hall ruled that the Chinese, like African Americans and Native Americans before them, were no longer allowed to testify in an American courtroom, further limiting their ability to seek justice against the rising flood of white-inspired violence. During construction of the first transcontinental railroad, after Charles Crocker and other founders of the Central and Southern Pacific Railroads placed employment ads for white workers, when only a few hundred white men applied, Crocker began hiring less expensive Chinese workers to fill the labor vacuum. Before the tracks came together at Promontory Point, Utah, on May 10, 1869, some 15,000 to 20,000 Chinese laborers had almost single-handedly built one of the greatest engineering achievements in American history, working from sunup to sundown 6 days a week, all for $26 a month. Signed into law by President Chester A. Arthur on May 6, 1882, the Chinese Exclusion Act furthered the nation's racist tenor by suspending all Chinese immigration for a 10-year period, at the same time excluding Chinese Americans already in the country from seeking naturalization as U.S. citizens. And while Chinese Americans challenged the constitutionality of the law in court, all of their efforts failed to bring about justice. The immigration ban was extended an additional 10 years thanks to the Geary Act of 1892, followed by the Immigration Act of 1924, which extended the nation's exclusionary practices to not only the Chinese, but other undesirable groups such as Hindus, Middle Easterners, and the Japanese. Chinese immigration into the U.S. plummeted as a result, until the Magnuson Act of 1943 at long last made Chinese Americans eligible for U.S. citizenship. And there you have it, the Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882. Today in the Daily Dose. Get your nerd on with the Daily Dose. And if you enjoyed today's episode, share the link with a friend or colleague so that they too can learn something new every day.